That was playing twice. Hey, welcome to Bears Banter. My name's Bernard Muhammad. Tonight on the broadcast, we have Christian Jones, Mike Alton, Guy Moore, and Tammy Harris.
Hey.
Hey, how y'all doing? Hey, Jay Beasley and Keith Flournoy could not make it tonight. So hey, now we're in the off season with the Chicago Bears, and hey, let's start with one of the breaking news that's outside the Bears. Mike's guy Tom Brady. I love Tom Brady too. Is coming back. Hey, what happened, Mike? Well, I mean, that was like one of the shortest retirements. What, like 40 days? He was
White Jesus
thing or something.
White Jesus arose from the dead, man. That's all it was. That was all it was.
That's funny.
Old gospel song said he got up.
No, he got to the crib and realized being retired ain't what it's all cracked up to be for him. You got money, you got everything you want. So he went back to work.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have that problem. You tell me to retire, I ain't never coming back.
Right. The wife is giving him too much stuff to do at home. He's like, nah, you know what? I have more fun trying to avoid getting hit by these big dudes.
That honey-do list was a spreadsheet.
Man,
hey, my daughter shared this Instagram post where somebody said Tom Brady met his wife and children for the first time and said, "Oh no, I didn't know this was like this."
Right? You're like, man, wait.
That's true though. He been in the league for 23 years. He ain't been home for real.
Been home.
Like, is this my house?
Right.
Man.
That's some excellent problems I have.
Anyway, as far as let's move to Chicago Bears. You know, Bears. We today actually the first day of free agency, and there's a whole lot of things transpiring over the last few days. So a lot of stuff what we heard is going to start happening now in the next few days, as far as like rumors. But we do know Khalil Mack, the Bears struck an agreement to trade Khalil Mack to the Los Angeles Chargers. So, I mean, Guy, do you have what was his success, or was he successful here? Can you share the information that?
Yeah, he has some interesting numbers. He played 53 games. He had 156 total tackles with 114 of them solo. He had 42 assists, a safety, 2 interceptions, a touchdown, 42 sacks, 11 passes defended, and 14 forced fumbles. You know, and it's just like one of those things, man. It just is what it is. I mean, dude is a stud, but you know, he can't help getting hurt. But with that big price tag, it was kind of like a liability. We were able to free up a little bit of cap space, and later on, I'm quite tell us what we'll tell them who they signed.
Okay. So, hey, Mike, I mean, what was your evaluation of that trade with the Raiders with Khalil Mack? I mean, did you think it worked out or it didn't work out for the Bears?
I think in the end, I think we didn't get what we paid for as far as with all those picks and everything. A lot of people, even though Mack had a little success here, he was still 30 tackles short of what he was doing with the Raiders on a yearly basis. And his sack production was mid-tier. From those years where he was up for defensive player of the year every year. So to give up all of that draft capital and to get back, I mean, he was good for what we needed him for, but for what we paid, I don't think we got our return on investment quite what we were looking for.
Right.
Okay. What about you, Christian? What do you think about the Khalil Mack trade as far as when he came here?
I thought it was a good trade to go for, because at the time we needed an edge rusher. So you gotta pay the price for it. I mean, you're gonna give up a lot of capital for it. So I was fine for what we gave up to get him. But this trade, I felt like we didn't get enough back, at least, because when you look at the trade with the Rams. What's his name?
Von Miller.
Yeah, Von Miller. He was a rental. He's a free agent now. And they gave up a 2 and a 3. So I felt like we should have got something around that for Matt, because he's going to have a crazy year this year.
That's if he can stay healthy. It's like car X, man. It's like you can have an Aston Martin and it just looks great, but you didn't have the catalytic converter replaced about 3 or 4 times. I mean, the value is going to go down. We know what he can do. You are the only question you have is that big if is like, is he going to get hurt? But with the way things have gone for us, he might go out there and probably set some records. But they are what they are, man. It is what it is, and where we are now, as far as the franchise is concerned, with all the new, with polls and new coach, and all that stuff. I mean, they kind of sort of going in a different direction now, as we can see.
Okay. Now, Tammy, did you have an opinion on as far as the trade for Khalil Mack to get him here, not necessarily the trade that they just made?
I got more to say about the trade they just made.
Okay.
I was fine with what we did to get him. I thought he was what we needed, and I thought we got good production out of him. Injuries you can't help, and you never know who it's gonna be or when it's gonna be. So to say that somebody is not gonna be good because they were injured before, nobody has a crystal ball. Justin Fields could get hit by a truck. Anybody could walk out the house and anything can happen to anybody on any given day. So, I mean, nobody has a crystal ball. So I think that he was what we needed when we made the trade to get him. I agree with Christian because we talked about this a little bit offline. I don't think that they got enough for him, in my opinion. I don't think it was a good trade. I'm actually pretty pissed about the trade, and I know that I'm in the minority, and most people think that this is a good thing. I will see what they do with the little piddly trades that they did get, the little piddly picks that they did get for him, what kind of decisions they make, because the Bears historically have not done a good job with replacing what they give up with equal or better talent. So I'm not truly optimistic, and I think you might have just created a problem where you didn't have one.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, I thought the trade to get Khalil Mack was worth it. He definitely did his job in 2018. Unfortunately, the Bears were not able to capitalize on that, and a great majority of it was poor field goal kicking. But that year that they sold out was kind of like what the Rams just did this year, where they kind of sold out and put all their eggs in the basket to win that this year. And that year the Bears sold out to win, but unfortunately, because of poor field goal kicking, they did not advance in that game. Injuries are not the person's fault. Those are things that just happen. And then unfortunately, sometimes as players age, they become injured more often. But hey, let's look at and see why that the Bears might have made this, because maybe that may shed some light. I don't know why they did it, but I was expecting it to happen. So Khalil Mack was traded for a second-round pick in 2022 and a sixth-round pick in 2023 to the Los Angeles Chargers. They would clear $6 million in cap space for 2022, and they would clear $28.5 million in cap space in 2023. I believe that's very important with as far as the question is, are the Bears rebuilding? That's really one of the questions when you look at this. Now, when I'm looking at Khalil Mack, when you look at what the Bears, if they're changing from a 3-4 to a 4-3, that may be significant for a player like him. That now you actually do need a linebacker that's going to strictly play linebacker, that's going to cover, not necessarily like an edge rusher like a Lawrence Taylor, where you kind of every once in a while he may go on the flat, but you got defensive ends now for that in that 4-3. You got two defensive ends. So are you moving Khalil Mack into a defensive end or strictly an outside linebacker? And at his age, do he want to do this? I kind of look at this trade as two things was happening. One, they picked that team because that might have been the destination that Khalil Mack might have wanted. He might have still had a home in I don't know if he did or not, but when he was playing for Oakland, they were out that way. I want to say they were in LA at that time. It's hard to keep up what the Raiders are. They
They
changed
moving
cities.
every week.
But when I believe this might have been a destination, and also so in that case, the Raiders took on not the Raiders, the Chargers actually took on a lot of Khalil Mack's salary cap hit.
Yeah.
When you look at the Von Miller situation, the difference was Denver. Denver's ate a whole lot of that to just move Von Miller. So really, for the Rams, it wasn't as impactful. But for the Bears, I believe because other than that, it don't seem like they got the value, right? Because I would have said they needed. I would have taken the second round is fine, but but a sixth round that didn't seem like they got the value. But only thing I could see is trying another team that would take on that cap hit, and maybe this might have been because Khalil had actually restructured his contract, I believe, about 3 times. So the Bears might have allowed him to select a destination, which now that does give up your leverage because if they know this is where the player wants to go, I'm not giving you a whole lot because this is where the player wants to go and you're trying to send him. It's kind of like the Deshaun Watson situation to me. The more Deshaun demand destinations, the more it puts Houston almost in a handicap situation on how they're going to be able to trade. What you got, guy?
And he's a no, and and with Deshaun Watson too, he has approved the trade. So basically, he dictates where he wants to go. You can say where you're gonna send him, and he can be like, "Shoot, I sat out last year, I'll sit again." Now you're in a situation you got to force him. With Khalil Mack, I mean, like I said, just like you guys say, you're absolutely right. I mean, it doesn't negate what he is as far as his injuries. He can't help that. I totally get that. But when it comes to corporate America, the first things they start throwing out is all these different hyperboles. Well, Jerry Rice was drafted in the later rounds, and you guys can do this, that, and the other, and then too. But I'm kind of sort of leaning towards where you were going, Bernard. I think he probably was just saying, "Hey, send me out there." So when you're there now, it's like you're kind of at an impasse. You either make the trade or you don't. So
Okay. Hey, any what Christian? I know earlier you said you didn't think he got the value. What kind of value were you looking for in a trade like this?
Like me and Coach Mike was talking about, at least a 2 and a 3. I would have been cool with that. A 2 and a 3, I don't think most fans would be like on here like, that was a bad trade. Most people be like, okay, we got a pretty good, decent value for him, but a 6th-round pick, they most times don't even make the team. So
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, you could
probably be called a player to be named later.
Yeah,
I think that what they were trying to do though is try to move and select more picks in the draft. Not even necessarily the 6th-round pick. It was a contract move, and I said this earlier in the year. Even when they selected the coach to come in that was going to play the 4-3, you got to look at this too. So they appear to be rebuilding, but not actually rebuilding where they're just bringing in, where they're going to try to bring in sluff. They're going to try to get the team younger. And when you're about to be 32 and you banged up, there's not much you can really offer. And if we're going to pay that type of money, we might as well just try to figure out something else. So I would have been happy with a 1 and a 3 or even a 1 and a 4 pick. I think you could have got at least a 1st-round pick for Khalil Mack in the end. But a 2 and a 3 was the bare minimum. But that was a fire sale of that contract. That was all that was. Like, get that contract out of here.
Or they could have did what Broncos did and waited until the season started. And we ain't in contention. There's going to be a team in contention that's going to want a pass rusher. And we could have did what Broncos did with the Rams. And we could have got more if that's what they wanted to do. They knew they wanted to move him. And then let's not forget the cap go up next year anyway, and they're going to be like 123. So, like, his money ain't really going to affect you for real. So if you really wanted to, like, get rid of him, I mean, they could have been more patient with it. I felt like he wanted to just get in here and put his stamp on the team, and I just ain't feeling it. I mean, a 2 and a 6, that's terrible to me. If you ask me, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Tammy, I know you don't like that move. I mean, what's your feelings? I know you about to snap.
No, I'm not gonna snap. I actually been real quiet on the page, and I only kind of talked to actually Christian and Mark in inboxes mostly about this because I am actually really pissed about it. I think it was a bad trade, and as much as I love the Bears, a part of me hopes that Khalil Mack ends up having a great season and burns them just like other players have, where they've done the same dumb moves.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, so I guess when you look at, see, I guess this will make this interesting conversation, Tammy, because what you said make a whole lot of sense. Was the move about just moving the player off because you don't think he could play no more, or was it a combination of the player may not want to play in this system, or we're not going to be any good next year, so let's start rebuilding for a year or two. Now I don't know, that becomes a question because sometimes when teams are rebuilding and they let go players, that doesn't mean that player can't play no more. When you change defensive philosophies, unfortunately, sometimes good players may not fit in that system.
Right.
You know, and
But
you may
this
have
is
to move him. Yeah, go ahead,
but,
Tammy.
but this is the thing. Khalil Mack started playing a 4-3.
Yep.
So it's not like he
Yeah.
can't play it. And for people to
Right.
speculate that he wouldn't want to go back to it is a load of crap because you don't know. Or
Right.
that he still can't play it. You don't know. So I don't think that argument holds water. And I think it was purely about money. And as a numbers person, and I haven't had time to do this, I've been saying I was going to do this, but I've been working on a few different things. I haven't been able to. I actually want to go look at all the contracts and see what moves could have actually been made. I'm a numbers person. I know how to make numbers work. And they're smart people too. They know how to make numbers work if they want to. They had no interest in even trying to. And that's my biggest problem with the
Mm-hmm.
Bears. Most of the time, they don't try to make situations work that would actually be to their benefit because of either ego, stupidity, or something else. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But instead of looking at what is actually best for the team, they are eliminating all leadership that existed on the team. And why is that? I get wanting to come in and make your stamp on the team, but you don't do that to the detriment of your team just because you want to make your mark. And a
Right.
part of me feels like that's what they're doing. They're just doing stuff to now say that this is my team, I'm running this, and not necessarily, in my opinion, looking at what is best for the team. We didn't have to be crappy next year.
That's true.
Right. But I call it nepotism. Because in the corporate world, what happens is when new management comes in, from my experience in life, I've been in institutions where new management has come in and they've sat down with everybody and let's just say, okay, let's see, what is our strengths and weaknesses? And they look at it and say, okay, all right, all right. Well, you do that great. That's what I want you to do. They incorporate what they have and then they add some components in to complement that. But then you get the micromanaged narcissist that comes in and is like, okay, I'm going to blow everything up. First of all, we're going to run a 4-3. Number two, we're going to be more offensive minded. So we're going to tool up the offensive line. We're going to look out here and doggone it, because of those numbers, we can get these guys that we had here. We can get some guys in here on the cheap that can do the same thing. And they have this whole mantra and they already have it scripted out to whereas if it works, it's like the pop your collar. I told you so. I know more than you. And when it doesn't work, you know what they do? They blame everybody else. I, I'm just looking at what's happening as the days progress, as far as the pieces that they're coming in. And if I had to guess, I'm thinking that they really are they're just basically looking at this like a offense like that can deal with like if they lose like 35-31 or something like that, they'll be okay because they scored 31 points. But it
Losing is
seems like
losing.
they're lowering the defense. They're kind of like marginalizing the defense a little bit, just hoping that they're on a bend. But breaking in too, I read something where we talk about Eberflus in Indiana. He kind of did the same thing, and he took like the little pieces that he had and maximized it. But why maximize it when you already got a nice defense right now? You get some offensive line get slot guy in there, start running the ball more, and just like Tammy said, shoot, we with what we got, adding a couple pieces, we could have done some damage this year.
Yeah.
Losing is
You know what? And
losing.
this is what
Right.
I don't like about the Bears is the Bears been in this plug and play mode too long. That kind of to me allows the Bears to stay in this being mediocre, good enough to be either 800 or plus or minus a game or two, where they're plug players in. And after a while, you can't keep doing that. At some point, you either gonna build your team or you're not gonna build your team. When you just plug players in, and that has kind of kept them in this draft hell, other than what Ryan Pace had been doing by giving up picks. But it kind of gets you in that draft hell where you win 9 games. Now you're not good enough to make the playoff, but you're good enough to just screw your picks to where you drafting like maybe in the 20s. Then the next year after that, you plug enough just to be 8-8, which kind of screws you again. Then you plug another player in. Now I would give Poles credit for at least saying, okay, I'm going to build the team I want. Because what we've had, even when Lovie Smith left, you'd had general managers who left the defensive coordinator in place. You had, they'll fire everybody, they'll leave a person in place, or they'll leave maybe an offensive coordinator in place, right? And in this case, they came and just made a clean slate and said, hey, they didn't leave anybody in place. They didn't even leave special teams in place. They just moved forward with, hey, we just rebuilding the whole coaching staff, which makes me think it's a rebuild. Because you got rid of everybody on the coaching staff, like say, even special teams. So when you do that, you're not leaving nothing that any favoritism or any coach might have liked this player. You like, I'm starting from scratch. What's that, Tammy?
Well, losing is losing. Whether you lose 35-1 or 17-13, I don't really give a rat's behind. You still ain't winning enough games to get to where you need to get to. So I don't care if the offense scores more points if you still have the same losing result. And I get what you're saying on the plug and play, but the thing is, if you got the right pieces that you needed on the plug and play, because it isn't that we haven't had good players. There's been coaching issues, and then in some cases there's been position limitations or whatever issues, and those issues didn't get addressed. If you had addressed those issues and you did your plug and play to fix where your gaps were, then they wouldn't be in this cycle. But instead, they don't fix their issue. They create another issue. Then they have more issues to fix, and none of them get addressed.
Yeah.
Right.
And here's my question.
Mike?
No, I'm saying, here's my question. Who did they let go that wasn't hurt? Mostly everybody that they let go, and they knew that they had to get some kind of value back for Mack. But everybody else that they let go, they've been on the injured list.
Except for Alex Bars, he only worth $850,000. That's like that's like Ruth Chris dinner.
But the thing is, like, when everybody, when you got guys that come in, even the players know they're not safe. But I'm quite sure that they had a conversation with Khalil Mack before they made that trade. I can guarantee you they had a conversation with him, and that's probably why he ended up down there. And that's what happened.
And he might have been on board. They probably pulled him in, and probably I'm just only speculating, but I'm kind of going off what you're saying, quick. So this is what we're doing, man. What you want to do? I mean, you want to be a part of this? You want to do this, or would you rather go somewhere else where you could think you could contend? It'd be more for you. But I do kind of sort of think that he kind of dictated it, because I'm looking right now at his contract right now. He's got $60 million guaranteed left. And it's like, you look at him and it's like his contract is the biggest one. But to be perfectly honest with you, if Khalil Mack is healthy, just like they did run a 4-3, out in Oakland, the question is asking him, I mean, well, where he's going now. I mean, are the Chargers running a 4-3 or are they running a 3-4? I don't know, but
they want to. It really don't make a difference.
They run a 3-4.
Yeah, don't matter. He's in LA.
You spend most of your time in nickel anyway, so the personnel is just different. I wouldn't have done it because, I mean, you're going to look at Khalil Mack, you're going to look at him and Joey Bosa, and y'all going to be like, dang. And then you're going to be like, dang, we got Quinn. That could have been us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why I said I can't rule
How
out
we gonna be
that
looking for
he did not want to go through this. I want to rule that out. And Khalil Mack, like I said, have restructured his contract about 3 times. And some players, you do go to them and have a conversation. Hey, this is what we're trying to do. I mean, do you want to be a part of it? And sometimes players, no, I really don't.
Right, because here's the other thing too.
And give me a Super Bowl. I mean,
exactly.
I know a lot of us come from that old school where you just gut it out and play. But a lot of young players, we see that in basketball. That's not the case.
Then
this is too crazy though.
We just seen Russell Wilson change teams.
But you know what? When you start looking at what we got for Khalil Mack, and I know a lot of us are looking like, for real, man. I'm not trying to support them or anything, but everything about that smells like either you go ahead and run this move to the Chargers or what they got, or the next best person, you're going to be eating a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, like I said, the question is whether he wanted to be here. I would like to say he would have wanted to be here, but I think that it'd probably be better for him in his mindset. You know, but here's another thing I was thinking about today too, which is interesting. A lot of teams come in, they want to do the max for the minimum. Look at Travis Gibson. Travis Gibson was at Tulsa. He was a defensive end. And he was playing out the 3-4. So now what happens is you got him back at the defensive end. So instead of just basically worrying about, okay, he comes in, he may possibly have to run a coverage. He's not dealing with that. You just got a 4-man rush. His job is just to stop the run, plug the run, and rush the quarterback. But yeah, be careful with that stuff that they're kind of playing with, though, because you get rid of a guy who, if he's kind of sort of stays healthy for the rest of his career, Mack's going to the Hall of Fame. You're replacing Mack with a guy who, although he had like 7 sacks and 229 snaps, he's had 12 or 16 quarterback hurries. He did pretty good for us, but he definitely ain't Khalil Mack. They got to be careful what they ask for, because, like I said, it could go bad or it could be abysmal.
You know, I hope Max overpaid. I hope Max overpaid. Alleged, injury prone, whatever, behind, come back to bite them and burn them, just like Robbie Gould's trade. They would have gone to the freaking playoffs and possibly even the Super Bowl if they had just signed the contract. But no, they ended up with the Doink Man. And then another, Devin Hester burned them 1 year, and then somebody else burned them another year. I hope he comes back and not burn them, because I'm sick and tired of the Bears organization, and I'm sick and tired of fans too who only talk about certain things and have zero value for the players at all.
I agree.
Okay,
but here's the thing: the last comment with this, Nutty, they could have asked Mack and he's a captain, so they probably came to Mack and said, "Hey, look, we finna rebuild," and Mack knows he's at the end of his career. I don't want to be a part of a rebuild. Get me out of here, right. Because if they did him dirty, you think he would have said something in the news or whatever. Yeah. It did not happen. They asked this man, and they probably told him, we finna be rebuilding. And he probably said, get me up out of here. I don't want to be a part of a rebuild. He doesn't have a championship. Put me somewhere where we can go to the Chargers has a really good team that could make the playoffs.
Yep.
So
none of us was a fly on the wall in the window of the room of that conversation. We don't know what was said.
Well, if that's the case,
I've been in plenty locker rooms and in
you wasn't in that one.
Meetings.
Coach, if that's the case, then Pole should have said, Eberflus should have said, and they presser, it's a rebuild. Both of them said retool. So don't lie.
It's a rebuild.
You know what? I think that's semantics in one sense. I think people in big
school and then you're rebuilding. That's a lie.
Yeah, I think people in big cities like Chicago, and I said this a bunch of times on this show, we do not really, as fans, want to hear the word rebuild.
That's true.
One of them teams have to use words like retool, make new
readjust, change the culture.
We don't want to hear it because we think because we're Chicago,
we're going to still watch on Sunday, though.
But guess what? Chicago haven't won nothing since '85, so
we still going to watch.
And they still ain't going to win.
But you know what? Let me move on to some of the other players because I didn't want to make the show only about Mack. But I was laughing about something like my brother called me the other day, and one of his friends was complaining. He said, "Man, one of my friends was saying, man, we messed up on the what's the guy's name? He went to the Rams. I can't think his name. I'm drawing a blank. The defensive end.
Leonard Floyd.
Leonard Floyd.
Leonard Floyd. I said, tell your friend Robert Quinn got more sacks than him. That's who replaced him, Robert Quinn.
Yeah.
You know, so like that, we can. As
it just looked bad because of that first year he ain't do nothing.
Correct, the first year he didn't do nothing. But if you look at the value of what happened, Robert Quinn actually outplayed him this year. So why are you still talking about Leonard Floyd when the guy who replaced him outplayed him? You know, so I just got to think sometimes too, as fans, just because a player have a great year when they leave, if the player replaced them, outplayed them, what do it matter? And
you know what? Hey Bernard. You know what? Here's the crazy thing. What happens is you look at a big marketplace like Chicago, and when you look at our city and look at our culture, look at our football teams, basically we got blue collar people here that don't like being lied to. We ain't gonna like what you got to say, but if you tell us the truth, we can deal with it. I'm gonna tell you a perfect case in point. That happened with the White Sox. Remember when the White Sox first got their stadium and they just blew everything up, said we rebuilding? People was mad as hell. But you respect the fact that they didn't sugarcoat and say, well, you know what? We're going to change the culture here. And then you start seeing players like, this ain't no change in cultures. You changing teams, bro. You know, and I think that whole move, the way they're going about is like so small market. Because the big market, they're going to make money and stuff. But I think that we would rather be told the truth and be pissed off and can respect that than to have you sit up here and tell us, oh, no, it's not you, it's me.
All right, we'd rather lose with what we got.
Right.
So the Bears released Tarik Cohen. They freed up $2.25 million as cap space. They released Eddie Goldman. They freed up $6.7 million in cap space. The concern I have with Tarik Cohen is I'm hoping that young man will be able to play football again. I'm more concerned about that. This injury is really taking too long. Yeah, he was 3 games into that season, and he should have been back by what? Maybe
early part of last year.
Yeah.
And he missed, and then they added extra games. So not only he missed 13 games in 2020. He missed 17 games plus the 3 preseason games in 2021, and he still could not pass a physical last week. So I just pray that he's able to play football again, because he was really getting off to a real good start. And you got any stats on Tarik Cohen, guy?
Yeah, I do. Where is he at? Yep. Okay. Mr. Cohen, he's played 51 games. He averaged like 22 a game. He had 264 rushes with 1,101 yards, 4.2 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns. That's fantasy points. He had 209 receptions, 1,575 yards, which is 7.5 per, with 9 TDs. I'm looking at his numbers, and I know, and somebody said something which is kind of, I don't know why it bothered me. They called him a gimmick player. I mean, probably, they got this thing against short guys. What's up with that? I know he's 5'6", but dude, when he got the football was running, man, you had to put some nitrous oxide bottles in the back of your drawers to catch that dude. That dude was pretty fast. But, the only problem that I have with, I'm really willing to see now that he's not with the Bears, I think there's going to be a little more transparency on his part where he'll probably be able to, or you never know, it could be a botched surgery. But we've seen too many people have the same injury that he had, and he is like maybe the 1/10 of 1% of a person who missed. And that's because the other ones that missed as much time, you knew that there was more structural damage and they were a little more transparent. I just think there's something going on with him, be it a bad surgery or something like that they're just not saying.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. Then I know during the off season when he got the injury, I believe his twin brother was killed.
Yeah,
during that time as well. So I don't know if he had setbacks from that because he he initially wanted to dedicate the 2021 season to his deceased twin brother.
Right.
But you know what? I wish him well in his recovery, and I'd love to see him back in football. And I mean, I'm not going to rule out the possibility he could come back to the Bears just because teams cut players. That doesn't mean they don't re-sign players. You know, I mean, it happens all the time. Players are cut and re-sign, renegotiate their contract. Hey, so you know, we talked about Eddie Goldman during the season a lot.
Yeah.
Many of us pressed on this broadcast. I know I did that. Eddie did not. I didn't think Eddie looked like he was in shape when he came. I mean, physically he looked like it, but he just wasn't into it. So
yeah,
you didn't really get maybe that 20 sent out that 2020 season. Maybe Eddie Goldman didn't really want to play. Maybe he came back because of money. I don't know. I don't know what happened to Eddie Goldman, but he never quite was that player last year. Anybody got any thoughts on Eddie Goldman?
He was gone regardless.
Yeah, he was out of here.
Yes, he was gone regardless.
He didn't want to play, so I don't have a problem with him being gone.
Okay.
See,
hey,
but
go ahead.
What's kind of just perplexing to me is, I understand Eddie Goldman, but looking at other stuff that happened, and then they let go of Alex Bars, but Sam Mustafa's contract gets picked up, and I can bench press more than he can. So I don't know. I just don't. I mean, you know what? Eddie Goldman had his thing. It was what it was, and all that other stuff. But Alex Bars wasn't a lights out guy. He was serviceable, but Sam Mustafa is back. I mean, and think about it. It's like I hope that one of the things that they're going to tell us is they found a center and they signed a center that could probably do something. Because to be perfectly honest with you, if you give me like a mink coat and like 5 bricks, I'll play center. At least I'm tripping. At least when people pass me up, I ain't gonna look at them. I do my own thing. I start tripping folks.
Now, guy, that's what's puzzling a little bit to me. The free agency signing today was a defensive tackle. I'm not saying he's not going to be work out for the Bears, but if the Bears moving more towards offense, why is the first free agent you signed as a defensive player?
How about one more? How about one better than that? You get rid of a future Hall of Fame guy, Khalil Mack, and probably one of the premises they have. Well, we haven't got a return of investment on him, but you sign a guy, Larry Ogunjobi, who broke his foot last year at the end of the season. So you're getting rid of a guy who was at least Mack got injured earlier, so he would have come into training camp ready. This dude, we don't know what he got. He might not even play the whole season. So you gave this dude a grip with $26.35 million guaranteed. You don't really know what he gonna be about. At least if Mack show up, and Mack, like, if you got a needle and some thread, just put a helmet on me and I'm in.
Mack about to eat him.
More stellar decisions by the Bears.
So I'd like to thank everybody who's watching us on YouTube and Facebook tonight as we talk about the Bears rebuilding. Hey, I know y'all just so heartbroken about Mack, but it's a done deal. Ain't nothing we gonna be able to do about that. Let's look at some of the notable free agents, and it's not all of them because the Bears actually have a few more free agents than this. But this is the majority of the unrestricted free agents. Akeem Hicks, Allen Robinson, Andy Dalton, Jimmy Graham, the punter Pat O'Donnell, Jason Peters, Bilal Nichols, Jimmy Graham, Jermaine Ifedi, Christian Jones, Elijah Wilkinson, Tayshaun Gibson. Hold on, I saw a comment over here on Tayshaun Gibson. Hold on, what was that? Let me start reading some of these comments out here. I'll find it later. Jakeem Grant, James Daniels, Damian Williams. That's an extensive list.
Dude, I'm looking right now, and we got some more of them too. And it's a whole lot on the restricted. Deion Bush, Marquise Goodwin, Christian Jones, DeAndre Houston Carson, Elijah Wilkinson, Patrick Scales, Demir Berg, Darrington Evans, Bruce Irvin, Cassius Marsh, Alex Ogletree, who I think is going to come back. I think they already say he may come back. Artie Burns, Marquis Christian, Xavier Crawford, Tease Tabor, Ryan Nall, J.P. Holtz, used to be Alex Bars, and Joe Ayabunigwe. just get rid of him for his name. He only 784,000. No, I'm just playing.
Now some of those
I'm
guys
just
are
serious.
restricted free agents too.
All the restricted ones are Xavier Crawford, Tease Tabor, Ryan Now, JP Holtz, and Joe. The rest of these guys, the other prior ones, out of all of them who would have been on the free agent list, we picked up Darrington Evans that you got from the Titans. Oh, he was on the Titan, the guy that we just got. Everybody else is pretty much unrestricted. I'm looking at all this. I mean, it's even longer than that, man. It's like, wow.
Right. That's what I said.
I
didn't even pick all of them. I just stopped at 11. I was like,
so
hey,
I'm with you, Tammy.
I got my number system wrong. It's 14. I ended up recounting my number. So
we could have got rid of 19 of these guys and kept Khalil Mack.
Hey, but anyway, hey, who do y'all think of this list that's not coming back? I mean,
who on this list that you want? It's only about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So y'all think Hakeem Hicks is gone?
Yeah,
I think
unfortunately.
I think he is. The
Okay.
only one I can think of off the top of my head that I think will probably definitely be back is Alex Ogletree. Yeah, I probably bring him back. Yeah.
The punter probably be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All pro.
I don't see none of them. I don't see none of the James Daniels. I felt like they wanted him, they would have got a deal done with him.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think so too. Now I do think they may try to work something out with Jakeem Grant.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because I don't see you losing him and
hopefully
Damian Williams at the same time and losing Tarik Cohen because
you need to keep Grant.
Yeah, I think you're gonna get Grant, offer Grant a contract, and he fills your special teams slot, and you actually could bring him in for like a lot of reverse plays. He was pretty successful in that. I believe Damian Williams, he's probably gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, because you already have two running backs. You don't necessarily need 3, and like I say, you could use Grant in that role. I'm glad to see Jimmy Graham gone. He hadn't produced anything since he came here. Maybe not his fault, probably his Nagy fault, but still, you got no value for Jimmy Graham. The 3 years you had him here. I think Affetti's gone.
Nichols gone. After today's signing, he out of there. I don't see no.
Man, you know what? I'm looking on this list right now, and I'm gonna run some names down. Tayshaun Gibson, Deion Bush. Where is he at? Artie Burns, Marquis Christian, Xavier Crawford, Tease Tabor. All these guys are secondary. It's like, man, ooh-wee. And all those guys
that was where we were weakest at on the defense.
Yeah, Crawford, Tabor now. Crawford and Tabor are the only ones that are restricted. The rest of them are unrestricted. Wow.
Okay. So that goes back to the question then. If the Bears had that many free agents, I had about maybe 14 on my list, and you just read another 6 or 7 or 8. The Bears got almost about 25 players that's free agents in some form faction.
They're retooling though. It's a retooling. It's not a rebuild.
My question is, are they rebuilding? Because you can use whatever semantics you want, but when you have that many players on free agent, and quite a few of these guys were starters.
Yeah.
Hey, old saying say you can put a lipstick and a wig on a pig. It's still gonna be a pig. It's still a rebuild. It don't matter what words you use. They're going to be rebuilding. That's all it is.
Yeah, I agree.
A long season.
Yeah, this is true. Wow,
it's a long season.
It's just mind blowing. I can understand why Tammy's upset because as I start looking at the free agency list, and I pulled this up this morning while I was at work, and I'm like, okay, let me get this straight. I get what people's sentiments are. Oh well, he's been hurt. I said it from being a hurt part just from what they convey as far as a business standpoint. I like Mack, and to be perfectly honest with you, 60% Mack is probably better than anybody else that you got on that line. So, but I'm looking at all these free agents, and I'm like, you mean to say that y'all couldn't y'all couldn't roll some of these cats out and keep them? But like you said, maybe it's one of the things that he just wanted to go. But we got all this stuff and we got all these people here Justin Fields better go get him some Lloyd's of London insurance this year.
hey,
But
so
now you said
when
you
you have
did.
that many free agents like
That's
that,
what I'm
that
saying.
doesn't happen by accident. See, this is strictly Ryan Pace in 2018 selling out to win the Super Bowl in
Pick
2018,
spread.
and correct. And what you end up doing is you're gonna win because you sold out, and then at a certain point, you have all these free agents where they've been moving people contracts, and all these people contracts are coming up at the same time. Why? Because they thought they was gonna win a Super Bowl or be in a Super Bowl, and they was gonna be rebuilding, but they was thinking they was gonna be rebuilding around Mitch Trubisky.
He also made some bad signings too. Like he re-signed Danny Trevathan while he was injured, and
No.
that wasn't good. And then he went out and paid Jimmy Graham big time money, and that wasn't good. So he made some terrible decisions.
Yeah.
Tammy, we could have used you at Hallis Hall and handled this money.
Hey, so is Danny Trevathan going to be released?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they gotta
yeah.
wait. They gotta wait until June or July.
That's
They
all
gotta
right.
wait.
May 31st. It don't matter. He gotta go.
Dude, I saw them up on 71st and State Street trying to get him
right now,
trade him
they
off
go
for a
against
bag of
the Jets.
oranges.
To the bag of oil. Man, he had one good year, and then he got exposed in the secondary. It was just
Oh
bad.
man, and it was
was
by a tight
bad.
end on one of them, and that was like,
Man, him and Eddie Jackson, they was sabotaging the defense on purpose, probably.
no, but we can't say anything bad about Eddie Jackson because now they're going to a 4-3. He wants to go to the slot.
He can't. Never mind. I can't use that.
Only
Type
he can't even go. He go to the slot. All right,
slot
but you know,
machine.
we have a family friendly
He
audience.
found what
We
he
got a
had.
whole lot.
Being a
Yeah.
slot, being the
Yeah.
cut in the slot, you gotta be a dog. He found what he had.
Yeah, you ain't never lied, man. I think guys don't realize a lot of them guys talk about what they want. It's like, be careful what you ask for. We'll see at the end of this season if he got this stupid look on his face. Like, well, we
They're
told
not
you.
gonna put him there anyway.
We
So
need two.
okay, so going back to the defense, if we think when you look at the starting unit from 2021,
Uh-huh.
okay, so we are saying Danny Trevathan's not coming back, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, Khalil Mack is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Goldman is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have
Gibson, he gone.
who is that?
Tyshawn Gibson, he gone.
Gibson is gone.
It's a retooling though, y'all. Be careful.
Okay, so that's at least 5 players, and you don't. Okay, and you don't really have. You let Deion Bush them go. You know the guys who reserves coming off the bench. You let almost all your corners and nickels are gone. All of them are gone. Okay, go on the offensive side. Who's all coming back and who's leaving? On the offensive side,
Oh,
you got. When you look at your starting lineup right now, only body look like they kind of coming back with a contract was Mustafa. What's his name? Mustafa.
you got Mustafa. Let's see.
Mustafa, who can't block at all. Can't block. He can't read defenses. Okay, so you lose.
I think is Whitehair coming back?
Yeah,
He's like on contract, right?
He's still on contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I'm looking at their depth chart right now. Okay, the depth chart as it stands, like this second.
They only got one wide
Justin
receiver.
Fields, quarterback. You know, Montgomery, Mooney, Allen Robinson will probably be gone. Demir Bird, who knows that? Cole Kmet, Jason Peters, left tackle, left guard is Cody Whitehair. Musty's the center. James Daniels at right guard. Larry Borum at right tackle.
James Daniels, free agent. You have only one wide receiver on
one wide receiver. That's Mooney.
Everybody else is a free agent. Jason Peters is a free agent. They let Alex Barr. They didn't tender him. He's gone.
Dude, I'm glad. You know what? I was getting nervous for a minute, man.
Okay, so this is the dilemma that the Bears are in.
Yeah,
you have that many free agents, and when you looked at the current salary cap where they was at, without making any moves, I know the salary cap is going to go up this year, but at the time, the Bears only had $26 million in salary cap space. You have all these free agents. Who are and you have what you had 4 draft picks going into this draft before you made any moves?
Six. I think.
6.
Yeah.
Okay,
Not
you
many.
had nothing in the first
2,
round.
3.
You had what about 3 in the 6th round?
No, you got 5. Now they got 6 because they had
Now they got 6. Okay,
2, 3,
okay,
then two 5s, and then the 6th round. Now they got a 6.
okay. So that's a hard position that Ryan Pace put the Bears in coming into this season. You have a bad team, and you going into what you said 5 draft picks, and damn near half your team is free agents. That's
Right, but that all started with the Mack trade, and then trickled down to the Fields trade. So with those 2 trades alone, we sitting there like we ain't got nothing. It's just like you gave up all this draft capital to get players in, but now you still trying to shuffle the deck, and it's gonna take a minute, but they'll get it right one day.
Hey, you know what's funny, man? I was pulling up the depth chart, and for about 10 seconds, the page was blank. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, there you go. Ooh, I was about to say everybody gone.
So they didn't cut everybody.
Man,
They had 20. They had 26. I mean, it was doable though because all you needed was a corner and a playmaking safety who can tackle, and you right in the thick of it. You could have went draft. You're not really supposed to do it, but I mean draft. You could have really just allocated all on picks towards offense.
but when you say right in the thick of it, right in the thick of what?
I mean, we were only a couple of wins away from really being competitive last year. When you really think about it,
Competitive with who? That's the question.
I mean,
Competitive with who?
the NFL's always parity though, Coach. You know that.
Parity with who? That we
Did
play
we-
in the. Here's the thing: we're not winning games in the
did we not beat
weakest
the Bengals?
conference.
Did we
Huh?
not beat the Bengals? We beat the Bengals, right?
Yeah, we beat the Bengals. We
Okay.
beat the Raiders that
When
beat
we lost to-
themselves.
When we lost to the Steelers and the Ravens, what was that? About what? 2 possessions? We was in most of all of our games though.
When a kid hits a 400-foot foul ball, it's strike one. That's the bottom line. It was a loss. It's a 400-foot, man, that looks good. It looks good. It pins the pole. It's a strike. A loss is a loss. We could have, we should have, and all of that, but we didn't get it done. So, we played Detroit twice, the Vikings twice. We play in one of the weakest conferences and still not getting it done.
Well, coaching has a big part of that too.
Yeah, and that's one of the things with the Bears. When you look at the Bears under Nagy, and matter of fact, you can go back to Trestman, and you can always look at these games that the Bears should have won, or something happened why they didn't win. But that's the difference between good teams and bad teams, or good teams and mediocre teams. Good teams always find a way to win those games that look like they was about to lose. This is the dilemma we in, that every year we can always look and say, man, it's about 4 or 5 games. If they had just did this, they would win. But the problem is that's been an ongoing thing with us with the Chicago Bears. There's always been just those enough games where we could say, man, if we had a little bit of better this and that. And truthfully they lost to everybody in the division last year, except Detroit.
And Detroit, every year Detroit says that same thing that you said. Man, we was one player away from beating the Bears. Every year. Cincinnati said the same thing last year.
The difference between a great team and a bad team that plays bad, and a great team that plays bad. The great team that plays bad, they come to press conference. Man, we played horrible. We had a really bad game, but you know what? Coach came in, and you know what? He exploited the cornerbacks big time. He ran a wheel for the first time in 2 years, and it worked as a charm. You know what I'm saying? With the bad teams, well, you know what? We could have made that. We could have, would have, should have, if, ands, and buts, candy and nuts. But y'all look at it. I don't care across every sport. The great teams, they win those games that they suppose. It ain't about we would have, could have, should have. They just go win them. The bad teams like looking in the rearview mirror, like, well, if I'd have done this, like if you'd have done that, they still would have scored a touchdown. So, you know,
It's
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 like you
What
putting
you
a
got,
band on a
Christian?
flesh
What you
wound.
got,
coaching a
Christian?
part of it though, because our former coach would come to the podium and he would still talk about trying to figure out the whys. And we 10 games into the season, he's still
I
talking
like the
about why.
wise. Like the
Like,
wise. That's on 63rd and Stony. It's like, that's the wise. That's our
come
wise.
on now, coach. You better than that. You know that it was coaching a part of that.
It
It was
is.
But
And Nagy's beat Bruce Arians the year he won the Super Bowl. And then he
yeah.
beat Zach Thomas the year that they went to the Super Bowl. The Bengals. He beat
But
both of them.
but it goes back to that whole transparency thing. When they finally let Bill Lazor last year run the offense, and they sat him at that press conference because we all talked about this off camera. It's like it's weird seeing him talk because they asking him questions and he not pausing. He giving the straight up answers of why they are. This whole beating around the bush and trying to get us to tell us like, man, you know what? We'll tell you something. You know, if it looks like a duck, if it smells like a duck, it tastes like a duck, it's a duck. It's like, nah, you got to check his neck because it could be a snake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we spent most of our time in the past couple years bringing in coaches from teams who weren't successful, bringing players in from teams that weren't successful. I mean, I love when Bill Lazor called plays, but he was from Jacksonville when they were losing. Then he was with the Bengals when they were losing. So, we finally got a group of coaches in now that have come from programs who were at least mid-tier somewhere.
Mhm.
So now we have guys that are coming in that could kind of get the ball rolling. When Lovey was here and they had coaches from Tampa Bay, those guys were winners before. So you can't preach winning if you ain't never won. How can you do that?
Yeah, it's
Right.
like
Hey,
you in a situation where you're a coach like that, and you talking about those bringing those guys in. You getting blitzed up the wazoo through the A gap, and you keep running through it.
That's just
so,
like
so
just like
I
Lindblom.
had a
Y'all ain't
question
expect to
for
win no football games. We
right.
went to Julian. We expected to win every game.
I
No,
just saw a comment from Tammy. Hey, Tammy, I know we didn't get a chance to talk about this much because we was doing a series on Black History Month. But I mean, what role do you think that Nagy played in the demise of this team? Because a lot of that stuff came out as we was kind of going through that series. Uh, do you think the Bears did Justin Fields a disservice by allowing Nagy to coach him if they knew some of the stuff that was going on with Mitch Trubisky?
I think the Bears did a disservice to the entire team. To Justin Fields, absolutely, but to the entire team. We have for years squandered talent that has come to our team because of ineffective coaching. And people can talk about players all day long and who were winners, losers, trash, this, that, or whatever. But good coaches bring out
Mhm.
the best of their players and they help them to shine and deliver what's in them. And we have had terrible coaches, with the exception of Lovey, who needed some pieces, but he wasn't terrible. Other than that, we've had terrible coaches for the last, 25 to 30 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not, you can get talent and not know what to do with it. And people can sit up here and say that you have trash players with no talent, and that's not true. And you can sit up here and you can say players are overplayed or that they get hurt. Although sometimes you have to look at the situations in which they got hurt. Was it the play calling that put them in that bad position that got them hurt to begin with? Sometimes, not always. Sometimes other things happen. But we don't, as an organization, don't value players, and we don't collectively make the right decisions. And until we start making better decisions, and I don't know if Poles is gonna make the right decisions or not. I really don't. I don't like a lot of the things. I don't like. I won't say a lot. I don't like some of the things that he's done so far. But it's really going to depend on who his picks are that bring it all together as to whether or not he made something or he's going to make something happen that can work. But coaching, absolutely. Nagy, not you can't win no matter how good you are if your players are not empowered to make decisions and deliver their best. If you don't equip them to deliver their best, you're not going to win no matter how good your players are. Good players can't make something happen when they don't have the power on the field to change the play.
True.
But you
Okay.
know what, too? And can I just say
Mhm.
something real quick, too? I agree with you 1 trillion%. The Chicago Bears organization, the only organization I've seen in the last 30 years that can draft or pick up free agents who are straight up alpha males and they leave crying about somebody stole their Lego blocks. It's like it's sad. It's sad because you look at, or here's the deal. Every player that walks into the NFL, their whole mindset is they know they're the best players in the world. Nobody out there is better than them. So their mindset is they'll tell you, oh, I can run through a brick wall. I can do that. It takes great coach to be able to pull dudes off to the sides like, yeah, man, you run a 4.4, but you catch like caca. This is what you do good. You're great in curls. You're great in 7-yard goals. That fly pattern stuff, the ball boy is faster than you. I'm not running none of those plays. They have to kind of give them that thing, and that's what kind of helps the culture. When you screw up the culture when you sit back when a dude try to tell you, man, coach, I'd be wide open. I'd be wide open. It's like, I haven't seen your jersey in 3 years. But the coach says, okay, yeah, you're wide open. You got these guys believing that there's something that they're really not. And then you put these pieces together, and then you start looking around, wonder what's wrong. That's why these teams like just real quick, like the Bulls. Steve Kerr couldn't mix you up. Dennis Rodman wasn't going to score 40 points. But whatever they did, what they did that was great, the coach was like, that's all I want you to do, and empowered them. That's what made them great. So now these guys, some of these guys who ain't all that great or thought they were great, going to go to other teams, and they going to get that eye opening. That's going to be to a team that's a real playoff team that knows how to look at players in regards to what they really are.
Yeah, yeah. I was really alluding to the fact that some of the stuff Mitch has mentioned since this year on how Nagy treated him and some of the players, and that's even trying to embarrass him. I believe it was something about after one of the games, he made a comment like, "We can't win because our quarterback can't make a play, or the quarterback can't even read defenses." If that's the kind of stuff I was kind of referring to. That's something that the coach has to take responsibility for, and not the player has some responsibility in there, but the coach, that's his job. And if he's doing public embarrassment of players, but then he's kind of presenting himself like he's this rah-rah guy that all the players love. He got this club dub, but it's turning out that he was actually a narcissist behind closed doors, embarrassing players constantly. And then that's why I mean that the fact that if they knew that was going on, there's no way you should have let him coach Justin Fields
They
to
shouldn't have let him
continue
coach the team.
behavior.
Yeah.
What you
I was just gonna say is that coaching is a big part of winning because the Steelers. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger been shot for about 5 years,
Yep.
and Mike T over there doing his thing,
Yep.
and they had Mason Rudolph, who was terrible, and he won them a couple of good games. So this whole Coach Mike is my dude, but Coach, you off on this one. Coaching is a big part of it. Coaching is a big part of it. I'm sorry, this roster, you can't tell me that they couldn't have at least been over 500 or on one of those bubble teams trying to on the verge of making the playoffs. You just can't.
Playoffs.
You got to ask yourself a question. Who do you want as a coach? Do you want an optimist, or you want more of an optimist or a realist? I think a lot of these dudes, because they've been in these institutions and where they've been the man, and then they come to the league, and then the truth of the matter is, you really ain't as good as you think you are. But it's so many people that keep telling them they are, and they keep doing the same mistakes. But then when everybody starts seeing it and they look at the coach going to be like, well, you know what? He didn't play up to his potential. You knew what his potential was, but instead of trying to mold him and put him in a situation like, for example, right now, and I'm going to say it right now, y'all may say I'm wrong. I don't think he's going to be lights out, but you're going to see Trubisky up in Pittsburgh and be like, dang, if we had a decent coach, he probably would have been fair to medium.
Trubisky about to Mike T.
Oh yeah, he's a game manager. You keep talking about Mike T, but Mike T been up there with guys that's been there for 20 years.
That's
Yeah.
true, but
Mike T is the face of the Steelers, but it's two white
he's
boys
still the
that's
leader.
behind them telling them like,
We
hey,
can't
this is what you gotta
discredit.
do.
We can't discredit that, Mike. Mike T come from Tony Dungy. He come from the Tampa 2 tree. He got there. He could have easily said, Dick LeBeau, you fired. He said, no, I ain't gonna.
It ain't, dude. Listen, certain
gonna-
teams, you not firing certain people. It's not happening. In Pittsburgh, them guys all been there for 20-some years, even before Mike T had on draws. Them guys been there.
Dick
That's why that's
LeBeau's been gone. Dick LeBeau been gone for over 70
6, 7
seasons
years.
now. And
yeah.
he's
But
still-
those same guys, if you look up the Pittsburgh Steelers staff, majority of them guys been there for 20-some years. They've been there forever. That's a lifer's job.
I tell you on another note, you know what I'm waiting for right now? I'm gonna watch some Kansas City games because I want to see Nagy get deboed. He gonna be like, "Well, we're gonna run the jet sweep." Reed's gonna be like, "No, we not." He gonna be like, "Well, maybe we not." You know, I just want to see somebody just tell him when he make a decision to have Reed or somebody say he's a quarterback's coach. I mean, it's basically I could be Kansas City's quarterback coach right now with Mahomes. It's like throw right, throw left, just don't throw the sidelines. If they running that bubble, they running that straight up that nickel. You don't want to do this. You want to just run with the ball. Nagy ain't. I just want to see somebody tell him no. That would be the highlight of my whole year next year.
At the end of the day,
Yeah, but you know what? I will say to defense, I will say this, not his defense, but with Mahomes, you have a better opportunity at winning. But you still could see one of the reasons they went home was they made some bad coaching decisions in that game. You know, that play right before halftime where they decided to they either kicked the field goal or then they threw this pass to Tarik Hill.
Tarik Hill, yeah.
Bad play call. He got tackled. Time ran out. So even within that, when you have great players, there still are moments where bad coaching decisions could send a good team home.
Yeah.
Because you're making bad decisions. But it does with great players, you have a better opportunity to win in those situations, and you always are in the competition constantly. And when you look at the Bears this year, I'm assuming the Bears are rebuilding around Justin Fields, and on defense, it has to be Roquan Smith. Those have to be the two people they rebuilding around. Since we know they are rebuilding, I don't care what they keep calling it.
It's a retool.
Yeah,
but
it shouldn't be teared down if you ask me. If you run the ball about 25 to 30 times a game, I believe we'll be sitting here talking about a different outcome of the season.
Yeah, I agree. But you know what? That's when you got the wrong people running. You got the wrong people coaching the team.
This first game with all scat protection, no double teaming, no nothing. They just let the Browns just go at him. They ain't helped that kid out none.
And what I didn't like was when they had Mack, they didn't give him. They had guys blitzing up the A guy, B up the middle and stuff, and then he got injured. Dalton comes in, they go max protect.
Right. So that's why you wonder when you made that comment early in the season, guy, that he was sabotaging Justin Fields. You said that maybe after the Cleveland, was it the Cleveland game where he got all those?
I think it was after that, and I was saying that, and Jay was giving it to me, and I was trying to explain to us, So as the smoke clears.
See, if you looked at it, he was sabotaging his season because he wanted to win with Andy Dalton
in his way,
right? And they made him play. They made him play Fields.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. That they made him play him, and I still say, if he had probably went with Fields, he probably would still have had his job. But I think because he went in with Dalton, he took the one thing he could have used. We went on played the rookie. We need another season. He played all 17 games, and we weren't a playoff team, but we knew we wasn't going to be a playoff team, etc. But as soon as he went with Andy Dalton, to me, he told management and the fans, we can win this year. And now you ended up Andy Dalton never scored more than 2 touchdowns in any game he played in. So what was the difference of playing Andy Dalton versus playing Justin Fields? But that just showed how that guy should not have. They should have fired both of them at the end of last season, and they wasted the fans' time by letting this guy coach the 2021 season. But hey, we about to wrap up. Anybody got any closing things? I'm looking forward to. I'm with Mitch Trubisky. Luck. I always thought he was a nice guy. In Pittsburgh, I don't wish him to fail. I did just think he was overdrafted. He should have been a 3rd round pick, and this should have been about the time now that he should have been starting. 4 or 5 years into the league, he should have been starting. Getting his shot at the start. So if he played good, kudos to him. But with the current coaching staff and what his abilities were, I don't see how he was going to be successful as that early of a pick. When the Bears we know who they should have picked between those 2 other players other than him. What you got, guy, before we close out?
Man, we just gonna sit back and see what's up. And as far as Mitch Trubisky is concerned, he's like a perfect teammate. He don't throw nobody under the bus. He say, I lost. You want guys like that. I wish him luck. And I'm just gonna keep my fingers crossed, man, my eyes open, looking on this wire and see who we get. And I'm very interested to see who we're gonna get in this draft, man. So let's just hope. I might be really angry this year, but still bear down 24/7.
What you have, time before we close out?
I'll just say that I pray that if Tarik Cohen wishes to play again, that he gets healthy and gets able to live out whatever his dream is. I say we gotta wait to see what picks polls makes before I give my final judgment on how I think all of his decisions come together. And then I would just say that I agree with you that, Justin Fields was given a disservice with Nagy coaching him with everything going on, but it wasn't just Justin Fields, it was the entire team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. What you have, Christian, before we close out?
I'm excited to see Mitch play. Set out a year, and better team. They got weapons over there. They got the running back from Alabama, and then Johnson at wide receiver. He's a beast. So kind of excited to see that, and hopefully, I'll be on here retracting my words and saying my bad to Ryan Poe. Hopefully he surprised me, but right now, I don't know.
Right. Hey, what about you? What you got quick before we close out?
Man, first of all, shout out to Scott Hall, the bad guy, Chico, who died while we just started the show. NWO, all that good stuff. I was a wrestling fan growing up.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Bears are, we saw this already with the Bulls like last year when they kind of rebanded and did some things and they brought some guys in and you like, how's Caruso gonna play with ball? And they got Ayo and Kobe White, get them out and all this other stuff. And they just been maintaining and just playing scrappy ball and winning ball games. So hopefully that this is what can happen on the football side of things. Get some guys in and retool, but be consistent because you have to, in order to beat these high tier teams or whatever you want to call them in these other divisions, we got to take care and win some football games. We got to be winning at least 11 to 12 games a year to even be considered. We can't be 7-8, 8-7. I mean, 10-7 and 9-8 and think we doing something. That's not going to be it. So hopefully we can get some guys in here and turn the ship around. They won 6 games last year. I predicted them to win 6 games last year.
Okay. So, hey, we'd like to thank everybody who's watching us tonight. Thank you for tuning in to Bears Banter. And also, we will come on here and there as maybe when we get closer to the draft or different breaking news that may happen. But hit the subscribe button below if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, join the Bears Banter Talk Show. Peace.